So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live broadcast on this beautiful Sunday. And hopefully my beautiful voice is coming through, which I know it is because I can see the meter now. Thank you for updating the software. So yes, today we're going to be discussing a actually quite a simple thing to understand, which is retrograde planets. And obviously I wanted to make this now because, as you know, Mars is going retrograde within like what? Literally like 2 days, it's going to be retrograde. So, a lot of people, and I do feel this, I feel like I abandon the people who have retrograde planets. I always discuss things, outside of retrogradation. And people who have retrograde planets that feel like, come on, when are you going to discuss retrograde planets? So, okay, well, I'll discuss it. So, first of all, the one thing you have to understand about retrograde planets is that there's heavy karma attached to it. You are to deal with a certain karma with the planet which is retrograde. That is the number one thing, the most simplest thing you have to understand. When a planet is retrograde, so let's say between now and I think November, or what is it? I don't know. I haven't checked the end date, but let's say for 4 months, Mars will be retrograde. Okay? In that 4 months, in that particular 4 months, all the babies that are born, they're specifically designed to be born during retrograde. Like if you understand what Sri Yukteswar said, especially in the autobiography of a yogi, that a child is born when everything is aligned mathematically. So when a soul is waiting in a certain realm, that okay, I have to finish this karma. I don't want enlightenment right now. Because the thing is, you can actually get enlightenment after your death if you asked for it. But souls which feel like, okay, I need to come back and finish this karma. Then the soul waits. It could be 300 years before the soul is born. Sometimes soul is born right away. It's quite complicated how this matrix works. But because the soul did certain thing, it has to wait when that particular mathematical equation and alignment is there for the soul to be born next. So soul is like, okay, when Mars is retrograde, when Saturn is retrograde, and Jupiter is about to end its retrogradation, that's when I need to be born because that will help me to release my karmas. And this is why people are pretty much born in a certain group. Like when people say, well, everybody has a different chart, even people with two different, say born in the same hospital, same day, even the same hour will have a completely different life. Yes, they will. But certain karmas remain quite similar. So like if person is born with Mars retrograde, there is a certain action that is attached to it. Why do you think there are over 50% divorces on this planet? Well, everybody's chart is different. Hello? And you're not supposed to face the same karma as this person, but how come you are? In the divorce court, when you go on a particular date, when you're assigned by the judge, okay, come here for your, final assessment. There are other people waiting for their final divorce assessment. I thought your horoscope is unique. Why? Because those people have a collective karma with you. See, we're all individuals, but we all have to eat in the same manner, okay? We eat from our mouth, not the ear. We get married. We have children. We go to a job. We have business. Everybody is doing very similar thing to each other. So if somebody is getting a divorce, that means if the other person is getting a divorce as well, there's got to be some similarities in there, right? There's got to be something which is not perfect for them to break that bond with this person. So same thing, when you are born in a specific year, in a specific time period, there's going to be a certain karma attached to things. So like, for example, let's say 1980, a person is born in 1980. Saturn was, I believe, retrograde in the sign of Leo, right? So people are born in that time period. Well, what is happening in that time period? In that particular year, Saturn aspects the sign of Libra, which is the third aspect, and it's retrograde. What does that tell you with everybody born in that particular time period when it's retrograde and it's aspecting the seventh or the sign of Libra? All these people will have some karma to pay with relationships and marriage. Go and check. Go and check. Maybe you are born in 80, especially between January and, like, I believe June, or was it February or June? I'm not sure. So that's the first thing we see. Very common thing with a retrograde person. Okay? And especially wherever the retrograde planet aspects, they will deal with those things and they will pay karmas towards those things. Now, for the second step, is that karma good or is that karma bad? Right? Jupiter is retrograde. Jupiter gives excellent results. Jupiter is retrograde. Jupiter can take out all the good things. So, very simple thing. Specifically for specifically for Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn, these 5 planets. Okay? For these 5 planets, you look at them in the birth chart that they're retrograde. Okay, fine, they're retrograde. The second step should be, once you see the retrogression, is what is your ascendant? Are you an Aries ascendant? Are you a Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo? What is your ascendant? Which house is ruled by this planet? Is it a pretty neutral planet? Is it extremely good? Like for Leo and Cancer ascendant, Mars is Yoga Karaka. It rules Kendra and Trikon, quadrant and trinal house. It's retrograde. Okay, fine. But I've already decided in my head, it's a planet that is a Yoga Karaka. It is supposed to give good results. Then the fourth step is, which house is it sitting in? That's the next important thing. Is it in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house? I don't care if it's exalted in the 6th house for Leo ascendant. Doesn't matter. Is it in 6th, 8th, or 12th house? If it is, it's going to neutralize the effect and you will pay some karma related to that planet. Okay. Now, there are people who suffer early in life with a retrograde planet, then later in life they achieve huge success, great success. Like, for example, I don't know if this person's planets are retrograde. Like, for example, if you look at this South Indian superstar Rajnikant. Okay, I believe, I don't know if his planets are retrograde, but you know how he's a bus conductor. And then I believe when he was young, his mother passed away too. And now he's like the king of that film industry. Okay. And this particularly will show. And I'm just giving an example. I don't know his chart as much. I know he's a Leo ascendant, but it'll show that struggle in the first half, then the achievement in the second half. But we're looking at the planet. We're seeing that, okay, is it if it's a Yoga Karaka, if it rules the quadrant and trinal house, sitting in quadrant and trinal, meaning Kendra or Trikon, it is an excellent planet. That planet will make you an expert in whatever you try to do. Why? Because it'll make you go back and perfect things. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like, you will take time before you produce a result. Like, for example, how Steve Jobs made sure that particular, machine, that Mac 1 was absolutely perfect from all direction. Otherwise, it's not being released. Like it brings that patience, because why? They want to perfect something. But yes, there will be struggle if it's in the 60th or 12th house. Like that going back and perfecting things will just be frustrating event for you, for that specific planet and activities related to that specific planet. But then, when a planet is retrograde, don't just look at it in the Navamsha. The thing is, you do not look, yes, look at in the Navamsha, okay? But specifically for retrograde planet, and this is what the most important thing is, go to Dwara Damsa chart, the D12 chart of your ancestors and parents and your lineage. Why? Because retrograde planet usually also represent the curse of the ancestors. It represents the bad deeds of your ancestors that you have to come and pay. Why? Because you might be your own ancestor. Like I could be my own great-great-great-great-great-grandfather who has to be reborn to deal with some issues, or perhaps to deal with some unfulfilled desires. Okay. Then, the other thing that I will also show is, what is the name of this thing? Hold on. Where is that chart? I need to know the pronunciation of that chart. I believe it's called Panchamahamsha. The Davashamsha. Okay, I believe it's, don't quote me on it right now, but there's another chart that is related to either paternal lineage or maternal lineage. Okay, but the easiest thing you do is go to the Dwara Damsa chart. How is the planet placed in the Dwara Damsha? Is it in a friendly sign? Is it exalted? Is it debilitated? Is it in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house? That will clearly tell you how this planet is going to behave during its dasha, during its transits for you. So that's something you look at. Then, let's say your Jupiter's retrograde. Okay? You looked at your birth chart, it's exalted. Looked into your Dwara Damsa chart, it's neutral. Well, then you have to go to the chart where the planet becomes the Atmakarka of that chart. So for Jupiter, you're going to look at Jupiter's position in Saptamsa. You're going to go to Saptamsa chart, look at Jupiter's position to see if the final say of this Jupiter is going to be on a positive side or negative side. For Venus, you definitely look at Navamsha. For Mercury, you look at Chaturvasamsa, and again you look at Dwaradamsa. For Saturn, you look at the birth and Dhasamsha. Because Saturn is karma, you have to execute your karma. Retrograde Saturn shows there's some karma, actual karma, action that needs to be fulfilled. With Jupiter, you may have to pay some karma back with your children, through your children. Maybe you may not get the happiness from the children. Maybe you have to work hard to raise your children. So with Saturn, it's the karma. Look at the Dasamsha. With Jupiter, also look at your Vimsamsa. Because Jupiter represents your divinity. Will you be able to succeed in your search for the divine? So Vimsamsa becomes very important. And then the final say will be Sastyamsha, the D60 chart. Look at the house position and sign position in that. However, you can jump to Sastyamsha. You can jump to Sastyamsha because especially when a planet is retrograde, Dwaradamsha is your gateway to the answer that you're looking for. The D12 chart in Vedic astrology, Dwaradamsha chart, which is pretty much, some people can actually just predict from Dwaradamsha chart, from his nakshatra and house placement. And I actually have tested with some of you people, and it came out exactly what we saw there. And especially look at the aspects on in the Dwaradamsha on the retrograde planet. And then the other trick is, whatever sign the retrograde planet is placed in your Dwaradamsha, the sign that is placed in, put it back into your birth chart. So if Mercury is, let's say, exalted in your birth chart and is retrograde, in Dwaradamsha, it goes into the sign of Scorpio. Put that Mercury back into your birth chart. The retrogression, the things that you will go back, why are you going back to do those things? What karma are you paying with that Mercury? It'll show you with placement, putting it back into your birth chart. So when Mercury Dasha comes in, not only you will deal with that Mercury which is exalted, let's say in your ascendant, your Virgo ascendant, but if Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio in Dwaradamsha, and if you put it back into your birth chart, it's in the sign of Scorpio, you will pay some karma back with your sibling. Or with things related to the third house. Perhaps, you may become an excellent communicator. Throughout your life, you have been absolutely, nil when it comes to communication. But when Mercury Dasha started, it went into the third house through this concept. And you became an excellent speaker. But at the same time, your relationship with the sibling kind of deteriorated. Why? Because, hey, your Mercury's exalted. What's going on? Well, this is how you study the retrograde planet. This is specifically for retrograde planet. Then, the other way you should also look at the retrograde planet is Charakarka Avastha. What do I mean by this? Is that retrograde planet your Atmakarka, planet with the highest degree? Is it the Amatyakarka? Is it the Bhatrikarka, Matrikarka, Putrakarka, Ghatanikarka, Dharakarka? What is it? That will give you even more finer view of what the karma is attached to that planet. Mercury is exalted in your birth chart, right? In the ascendant, represents you. Retrograde, and at the same time in the sign of Scorpio, in the Dwaradamsha, you put that Mercury back in your birth chart, which means it's going to go into the third house, retrograde, in his Dasha. But Mercury is your Dharakarka. That means one will deal with some karma related to the spouse. Communication with the spouse. Why? Because it's in the third house now, with that concept that I showed you. And that is it. That is all she spoke with the retrograde planet. Then, let's also, there's one more thing that I forgot to say. That's not all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. There's a little bit more. Look at the fact, and this is for the positive results. This is, like a great results. Is your retrograde planet at the Yogatara degree of the zodiac sign? And if you do not know what are the Yogatara degrees, go back into my playlist. The video that I did with Simone Chakowski called Yogatara, Prediction Through Yogatara. If the planet is at the Yogatara degree, if it's retrograde, it'll take you to the heights that you cannot even imagine. The Yogatara is like, in a video game, your character receives like a special sword. Like I used to play this video game Zelda. And whenever he got that special sword, oh man, I used to love it. It had the sparkles in it and it would just kill with one hit instead of like fighting it 5-6 times. That's what Yogatara does. And here's another thing. In the Dwaradamsha, is your planet at the Yogatara degree? That is also another excellent way to see the negative positive results of that planet. So once you know all this, and that's it, that's all you have to do with the retrograde planets. Okay, so does anybody have retrograde planets in their chart? Like, give me your date of birth and I will show you what this retrograde planet is doing for you. And I'm not going to be all negative in this, okay? So let me know your date of birth or something, and if you want to, that is. I'm not pressuring anybody, but I will, and please write your place of birth as well. Your date of birth, place of birth, time of birth. Okay, so we have Jamie Nazario. Well, hopefully you guys have retrograde planets. If you do, that's what I want. Not like if you don't have any retrograde planets in your chart. So, Jamie Nazario, 225. Yeah. Okay, you're born Trenton. Okay. You have Jupiter retrograde, you have Saturn retrograde. Okay? So you're a Capricorn ascendant. So let me just quickly go there. Most definitely you've had karma to pay with the mother. But in the Dasha, although you have already gone through your Saturn Dasha, let me see here. When did you go? From 1986 to 2005. Saturn was a difficult period. Saturn was a difficult period. But Jupiter Dasha, which is quite far away, I don't think it's gonna come after 100 years or something. Yeah, you're not even gonna go through your Jupiter Mahadasha. But Jupiter will always give excellent results in his Dasha period. And especially Saturn will give you great results in terms of your actual career. And especially if that career is happening away from your birth city. One thing I also see is your spouse has OCD as well as father's money karma. Because your Jupiter is retrograde, your husband did not receive his father's inheritance. And at the same time, you've had to deal, especially early in your life, you dealt with a lot of health issues, always going back and forth in your health. And obviously, with Saturn being retrograde, shows me you limp. You limp because of LLD or having some injury to the knee. So, Miss Nazario, correct? Especially the first year. Okay. So you see, this is how you study the birth chart. So what I did, Miss Nazario, I forgot your first name. I took your Jupiter and Saturn, which are retrograde. I went to my chart and looked at your D12 chart. In your D12, your Jupiter is in Sagittarius, Saturn is in Capricorn. Okay, so I see that, okay, these planets are willing to give great results. I put them back into the birth chart. However, I also look at these planetary position. Saturn in the Samsha, Saturn is in the sign of Leo, where it struggles. And problem with authorities happen. However, also in the Navamsha, the way your Saturn is, with Ketu Mercury in the 8th house. And so that easily shows me the determination of what this Saturn is willing to do. And then your Jupiter is very well placed in the Navamsha. And Jupiter is well placed in your Sastiyamsha as well as Dwaradamsha. I mean, there's a lot more things I can say here. I just don't want to say it in the public forum. You know, there's so many things that I'm seeing here right now, but that's how simple it is. There's no complication. There's no secret to, you know, understanding retrograde planets. Mother was probably a healer, but also Mother may have had like a split personality too. So, is it anybody else has retrograde planets in their chart? Okay, so let's look at Julie Sandhu. May 31, 19. Okay. So 9:20 p.m. And okay, so what town in Germany? You got to write the city. Julie, what is the city in Germany? Okay, I guess we lost her. Oh. Cologne. No, that's not a city. It's not showing up as a city. Please enter a valid city name. Yeah, that's not a city in Germany. Okay, well, I mean, let's look at someone else. Let's look at Chantini. Okay. And you're born in Chennai. Okay, so you have Mercury, Saturn retrograde. One thing I see here is that, first of all, what's going to happen with this Mercury retrograde, you're going to go to foreign lands, come back, go and come back. You're going to do a lot of back and forth traveling. And I know you're only 20 years old, but you will see this happening a lot. You are also a Bhakt of Krishna. Yet, what's going to happen with you, your divinity towards Krishna will always go back and forth. Sometimes you'll be like, well, Krishna is not doing enough for me. And then you'll stop praying to it. But then you'll come back. No. I want my divinity back with you. And you will enjoy multiple relationships too with this Mercury retrograde. Now, with this Saturn retrograde, clearly with the Saturn retrograde shows you're going to be away from your family, live far away. Even if you're not in foreign lands, you'll live far away from the family. And at the same time, you will always have to, especially whenever Saturn operates, you're going to become very blunt with your communication with people, especially siblings. And this Saturn will always have you do things on your own, like putting your own effort into things. Like especially Saturn will have you do your own business. You actually even have combinations to do business with Mars looking at the ascendant and the 10th house in your chart. Like your Saturn actually, even though it's debilitated in the birth chart, it becomes very powerful being retrograde, and especially looking at your Dwara Damsha, where Saturn is in Taurus, in Dwara Damsha. But the thing about with your Mercury is that you're not going to pay attention to how you look. You will never care for how your appearance is. You will not care to buy name brand clothing. You will not care to buy do your hair time to time, not even putting on makeup when going somewhere. That's what this Mercury retrograde all does. And well, I mean, there's a lot more I can say. Again, I don't want to just say things on a public forum there. So anyway, I hope that has helped you. I forgot your name. Let me know if you can relate to it, please. Yes, Chandani Khanna. Okay, okay. Thank you for verifying that. So yeah, I mean, look, you guys, once you understand, you know, well, the way I understand astrology, I mean, you will just see things. This is why I even now love doing, you know, live readings, because there's more fun in just looking at daily things. But of course, I mean, if I'm to do this reading for Chandani or somebody else that I did, I mean, I'm going to be looking at the chart for 30 minutes first, and then you know, giving things in those terms. And so hopefully, you know, once I open this school up next year, end of this year, it'll be like more of like the video lessons, and you will see how you grasp things. But anyway, this is all you need to know about retrograde planets. In terms of for you to say something about a retrograde planet, and one of the things about a retrograde planet is the very top things you should do, that this person will always have to go back and correct things. You know, that's all it is. There's no secret. There's nothing, you know, this is all that is. But one thing, yes, the only secret you can say is that look at the Dwaradamsa chart. Retrograde planet is telling an astrologer, go to the D12 chart. Go to the D12 chart. And then make your final assessment. You don't want to look at Sastyamsha? Fine. It just gives that additional flavor to things. But if you're going to look at Navamsha for retrograde, you could lose a battle. Go to Dwaradamsha. That's your key for retrograde planets. And especially for Rahu and Ketu, look at Dwaradamsha, D12 chart. And obviously, if you're new to this and you don't know what the hell am I talking about, Navamsha, Dwaradamsha chart, for that, check out the links in the description, astrologycares.com. On the shop section, you will see the option 5 of your report and beyond will be all reports. So you can go to the divisional charts and see your Dwaradamsha chart, your Navamsha, Dasamsha. Like for Saturn, look at the Dasamsha chart if it's retrograde. Obviously, when you're judging things, you should look at the Dasamsha, but especially when Saturn is retrograde, look at what karma you have to pay. How's that karma going to be unfold in your profession? Because according to even Nandi Nadi or Nadi Amsa, Saturn is the karka for profession. Okay. So anyway, guys, I hope this has helped, and we will continue our journey tomorrow with our, you know, regular series and conjunction videos. Anyway, bye-bye.